how a hunt starts is how it's going to persist. If you come into a hunt and you're really well prepared, your hunts just seem to go smooth. If you come into a hunt, hunts are really demanding on us mentally and physically, right? So if you come into a hunt and you're shot, you just, I don't know, maybe you had an argument with your boss or your wife, or maybe you're mentally burned out because of issues like that, or maybe you're hunting a dry drainage and you're trying to get a few days worth of water up the day before the opener, just so you don't have to cycle to get water, and you get up and day one you're exhausted because you just hiked an 80-pound pack with 2 extra gallons of water up 3,000 feet of vert. And I have just found that how a hunt starts is how it's going to persist. So if you start tired, you're going to be tired throughout the rest of the hunt. If you're mentally effed up because you had a fight with your wife or your boss before you left, you're going to be mentally effed up for the rest of the hunt. If you're scrambling with your options, you're going to be scrambling for the rest of the hunt. So again, not to drill the preparation, but man, it's just so important. Just so important to start that hunt off on the right foot. Not saying that you can't recover from a bad start. It's just hard.
Yeah, no, and again, I just think of so many just reminders of that. Last year too, I was hunting in Alberta, and I was like, wanted to get to West Virginia to hunt the rut, and I was like, my water line broke at my house, and I was trying to clean that up and go. I ended up having to drive all the way through the night, and I didn't sleep. And what do you know? My immune system runs myself down, and I'm sick. And the hunt started off being sick, and it was just like I was putting in 40% of the effort that I normally would have been able to do. And, I came home with the tag in my pocket, and it was just like, and I felt super confident before that. It's like, if I would have just gave myself a day of rest, between there and went down. And even if I had one less day to hunt, I would have been more efficient for that time versus trying to push it.
Yeah, limp along. Yeah, I remember just recognizing your body. I remember on a hunt I was doing with some buddies. I had just burned my butt at work, and I remember getting midday to our camp, and this was an elk hunt. We could already hunt. It wasn't an opener deal. And I remember two of the guys went off one way, but I literally I'd been up for, I don't know, a stupid amount of time, 36 hours or something. And I told my partner, I was like, hey, I'm first up. This isn't going to affect you because I'm first up. I'm going to take a 2-hour nap. And I literally started out the hunt taking a 2-hour nap, but I just needed it. I remember like how overwhelming it felt to go out and immediately start hunting that day, and I ended up taking a 2-hour nap, and that really helped. Obviously that's really small, but
but
it speaks volumes to listen to your body and listen. And it's become more important the older I'm almost 40, so I'm starting to get in that geezer age. So I'm having to start thinking about those things. Like I've been having hip problems. Who has hip problems, right? No, like
yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast before on the whitetail side of things. It's like, okay, during the rut, you're spending a lot of time in a tree sitting dark to dark and just, the ambush style of hunting. Well, you try to take advantage of that time you have off, but it's like you do that day after day. And even though you're just sitting there, it's exhausting mentally. And, so like for me, if I I do 3 or 4 days and I'm just like absolutely wore out, I might sleep in a little bit. And then and for me, I found that like the most where I've killed the most deer is during the middle of the day during the rut. So it's like, okay, I'll skip that first couple hours in the morning, get some rest, reset, get a good breakfast in, and then go in and do it. And it's just like, and maybe some people don't need that, but for me, I've learned that for me to be, and be efficient and active while I'm in the woods and focused on the task at hand, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, for sure. Listening to your body. Yep.
Yeah, no, most definitely. What else do you think on the preparation side that you see either yourself or others kind of make mistakes on specifically on like Western hunts?
Making sure even your mechanical broadheads fly with your fill tips. A lot of people think that mechanicals just inherently fly, and for the most part they do, especially Severs. I really like the Sever, so that's a shameless plug for Sever. For the most part they fly, but always just they've got that practice mode. Make sure that um, if somebody were to tell me that they can shoot a Sever with their fill tip out to 120 yards, I call bullshit because there's some drag to the Sever, and they're going to start dropping probably at 80, 90, 100 yards a little bit. Maybe it doesn't get meaningful to 90, 100, but anyway, you still want to, and it's not just drag. You want to make sure that your tune's decent. Couple of like I said, make some phone calls, check Onyx maps, make sure that there's no fires in the immediate area, or that you're not going to be impacted by smoke potentially. The road closures is another big one. This is all stuff that has personally bit me. Making sure that everything's screwed down on your bow. I know that's sounds trivial, but it cost me a 330 type bull on the Wasatch Front General Archery, so that's an OTC tag, so that's a giant bull for the unit. My rest had I hunt some off a bike, and the bouncing, side by side could do the same, can kind of jar some things loose. So just constantly making sure that all the screws are tight on your bow, the rest, the sight, that sort of thing. I like to keep my string clean. If you're out in dusty areas out west, I kind of got this unique method for cleaning my bowstring. I use a little bit of wax and I get it on the string. And then I take a piece of serving and I wrap it around the bowstring material, and I run that serving up. And so I'm peeling that wax off. But with that wax comes all the dirt. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's peeling the dirt out. So once you've done that a time or two and you get the bulk of that wax off, then I'll take a very light layer of wax, and just make sure that it's smooth. You definitely so over waxing can perpetuate a dirty problem, right? If it's tacky to the touch, then you're going to be attracting dirt. So the thing with wax is to use it sparingly. And what does sparingly mean? It shouldn't be tacky to the touch. You shouldn't feel any sort of that waxy, sticky stuff on the string. It it feels more dry than it feels waxy. It's hard to explain, but
Okay.
um, I've even heard of guys that will use other stuff besides wax because they're afraid that it'll attract dirt. I personally have had no problem with just using, once you peel off, I use a decent amount of wax to get that dirt off of it, right? Once you peel that off with the serving material, then at that point it's very light layer of wax. So they're definitely not heavy waxing. So that's important to keep your string in good shape, especially if you're trying to get a couple years use out of your string, which honestly you should be able to with a good string builder and maintaining your strings. I shoot more than any person I physically know at 80 pounds, and I can get 2 years out of my string builder strings. I
Really?
There are a couple of times he's a local guy. His name's Ken Dark Archer. He does fantastic work. He's in Lehi, Utah. He does ship out, by the way. But he I will the beginning of this year, I went down and I had him reserve one section. And we actually decided that I probably didn't even need to do that because there was a tiny bit of serving separation on the outside of the arc, but on the inside on the inside of the string where it's actually touching the cam, there was no separation there. It was just on the outside of the bundle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's not really causing any impact at all then.
No, no. And it was just so minor, but regardless, I just had him do it. And then I also generally replace my center serve every year if I'm trying to get a second year on my strings. But if you maintain your strings, hunting out west is really dirty if you're cognizant of that. I'm not saying that you need to do that like multiple times during your hunt, but if you hunt, 4 months like I do, it's very important to do it